Hi, everybody. Doug and Aleya and our very close friend Jeanette with you again for another interesting 15 minutes of talking about what's on our mind. And we've been talking about subtle energy. At least Aleya and I have been talking about our experiences with subtle energy. And I thought that it would be interesting to bring in my old dear friend Jeanette, who introduced me in some ways to subtle energy. And I think we'd like to share our experiences with it and then let Aleya take it to the next level because she is the master of subtle energy. So I think I'll start and then Jeanette, I'll ask you a couple of questions and then we'll see where it takes us. So first of all, for those of you that don't know me, I'm a lawyer turned peacemaker. I've been a lawyer for 44 years. I was a trial lawyer for 22 years before I went back to school, earned my master's degree in peacemaking and conflict studies, and became a peacemaker and a mediator. And as a lawyer, of course, I have a very analytic mind. As a trial lawyer, extremely skeptical, and like to think that I approach things with some very deep critical thinking. So in the 1980s, mid 1980s, I picked up the martial arts and started working my way through this northern Chinese system. And by the time I got to I earned my second degree black belt around the time that I turned 40. And at that time, my teacher essentially fired me. He didn't really, but he did. He said, "You're you're too arrogant. You're kind of an asshole. I'm not going to take you to third degree until you learn Tai Chi." And at that time, he had been studying Tai Chi himself and had somebody who was teaching Tai Chi. And so I was a dutiful student. I said, okay, I'll start learning Tai Chi. So I started working on Tai Chi, learning it. At the time, Jeanette was my massage therapist as well as a close friend, and I mentioned to her that I was learning Tai Chi, and she said, "Wow, that's something that I think I'd really like to get interested in." So she started studying with me, and we started learning Tai Chi. Tai Chi has two really interesting paradoxes. The first is the softer you are, the stronger you are, and the second is the more vulnerable you are, the more powerful you are. Think of it this way: if you can think of a garden hose, if the garden hose is cold, it's been sitting out on a frosty morning, and you try to run water through it, it's not going to let a lot of water through because it's hard. But if you let that garden hose sit out in a warm summer sun and it gets nice and soft and pliable, much more water flows through the hose. So in Tai Chi training, what you try to learn how to do is to be totally relaxed, centered, grounded, and relaxed, and soft, so that the chi, this is what the Chinese call the life force. It's also called prana in India, and it's got other names in other cultures and other traditions. It's considered to be an intrinsic energy. As far as I was concerned, this concept of chi was it was mythology, basically. The life force that the Chinese talked about in terms of Tai Chi and moving stuff around and all that sort of stuff was Tai Chi was just a form of a martial art, the oldest martial art, and it was interesting studying it and quite difficult to do well. So Jeanette and I were studying Tai Chi. Jeanette, I'm going to turn it over to you about how you got introduced into the subtle energies of it, and then what happened after that.
Basically, way back when I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, with
Right.
that my prayers, that and that, it came out massage, which was not something that I was going to go into. That wasn't anything on my radar, but I pursued it. And so in our massage school, they said either do yoga or Tai Chi, or you will burn out your bodies. And I tried, and I did a form of Tai Chi, and then forgot about it. And when Doug said, "Oh my God, we're doing Tai Chi over here in our karate studio," I said, "Oh," he said, "you can join." And so I joined in with the Tai Chi class, and it was wonderful. And the thing about Tai Chi is when you're soft, when you're soft, you have more energy movement through your body. And the other thing too, when you look at it, when you look at the physical body, when when we were talking in massage school about, oh, if you are real stiff, you're going to sustain an injury. The more flexible you are, the less of an injury. So when it was basically talking about like football players and how they'll sustain an injury. And when you are more relaxed and when you have a very good range of motion and there's all this blood flowing into all these organs and all that because you're moving slowly on
Right.
the physical level, you are going to be healthier.
Well, that's the physical benefit of Tai Chi, but I really
Yes,
want to focus on the
right.
subtle energy part.
We go from the physical to the energetics. Because when you physically have all that relaxation going on, then energetically, that energy can rise up and be present for you.
And
So
when did you first experience subtle energy as an actual physical manifestation?
somebody was doing some pranic healing on my shoulder.
All right, let's talk about pranic healing for a minute.
Yeah,
What's that all about?
that's energy. Pranic healing is energy.
Okay,
It's
so just so people know, pranic healing is a healing modality that was developed
yes,
by a man by the name of Cho Koksui, now deceased, who was
yes,
a Philippine chemical engineer, very
right,
scientific, and but
yes,
he was also clairvoyant and had the ability to see and manipulate subtle energy. And he had some very powerful spiritual teachers, and he
yes.
developed a system called pranic healing where you could actually replicate and duplicate the process of doing energy healing. So, Jeanette, you learned about this
Right.
and started taking a class in it.
Right, because it's duplicate. You can do if you just follow the steps. It's like Doug, when you were talking about when you fly an airplane, you have that booklet that you have to
Right.
follow.
What
And
was
the
the
same,
what was the experience that you had when you started to learn how to use energy for healing?
my first experience was I had shoulder pain. I couldn't get it with the chiropractor. I couldn't get it with a massage therapist, and there were some people doing pranic healing. I had my eyes closed. That I didn't know what they were doing, and my shoulder was better.
It just all of a
And
sudden, it was all of a sudden healed.
it was healed. And I thought, oh my God, Doug, this is the thing that we've been talking about with Tai Chi, the energy movement.
Right.
The energy movement happens in Tai Chi as it does in pranic
So
healing.
so you started studying pranic healing and told me about it.
Yes.
And I said, well, if you think this is really worthwhile,
Yeah.
then I'll take it up. And you came back to me and said, I think this is the real deal. I think you should look into it. So we
It's
both
so
started
connected to
we
Tai Chi,
both
but
started studying
yes,
pranic healing,
pranic
pranic
healing.
healing, and ultimately both became certified pranic healers.
Yes.
Do you remember the time we were practicing push hands?
Yes.
I'll tell
Yes.
you what I remember, and then
Hmm.
you can tell me what you remember. So
Yeah.
we were push hands as a form of two-person Tai Chi, and what you're really trying to do is use you're working to try to be as soft and as relaxed as possible, and get the other person off balance without using any strength whatsoever, using just energy. And we were in a relatively small room,
My
and
therapist.
and I'm a lot bigger than Jeanette. So it was really important that I not use any muscle whatsoever, no strength, because I could easily physically dominate her.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the point. The point was to be as soft as possible. And at one point, you went flying off my hands, and I didn't do anything. Remember that?
Yeah.
What
Well,
what happened?
well, because the energy rose up and I was propelled back. And my blinds actually had a dent in it. They replaced my blinds.
Oh, that
Okay.
was my
Yeah. It actually had a dent in it where I ended up, hitting up against the blinds, the window, the
you
blinds.
went flying back 10 or 15 feet, and I did nothing.
Not that time. That was another time.
Yeah,
The first time was about 5 feet.
yeah,
I also repelled you. I know you forgot
that's
about
right.
it. Yeah.
So we
Oh,
started figuring out how we were going to throw each other, and then I took a training from another person who was very elderly, and the same thing happened to me. Only I flew back about 30 feet. I mean, my eyes got as big as saucers because here I'm a lawyer, and all of a sudden, Jeanette, who's a third my size, and this
yes.
elderly Chinese woman, probably 90 pounds, dripping wet, throws me back. I have no way of touching her. She just
Yeah.
wipes me out, wipes the floor with me, and so my eyes get as big as saucers. So then I happened to be at I don't even remember where I was, but I ran into a couple of guys Korean martial artists, and they were talking about, I just happened to hear them over talking about subtle energy. And I said, well, I'm a Tai Chi guy. And they said, well, watch this. And so they took a business card out and put it on their counter, and they went like this, no wind, and the car flew like 4 or 5 or 6 feet. My eyes get as big as saucers. Wow. So I learned how to do that. So I can move business cards. I mean, if you remember the old Kung Fu television series where I think there was one where he goes like this and all the candles blow out. Well, I never really took the time to develop that, but I can blow out a candle with my energy. Both Jeanette and I were pretty cynical. Well, used to be cynical. Skeptical would be a better word. analytical people, and we have experienced this subtle energy in a way that really cannot be denied, even though science, there's no way to explain this through science. There's no science that can possibly explain what we both experienced.
Well, not only us, you also showed some of your Tai Chi students, and I showed some of mine, and they
Right.
were doing it also.
Right. And that's probably the important thing to recognize is we were able to duplicate and replicate what
Right.
we ourselves could do.
And
Even though there's no explanation for where this energy is coming from or how you're able to manipulate things without touching, without physical energy of any kind, we were able to do things, including healing, which was quite remarkable. The reason that we're going into this is to set Aleya up because she's the master of subtle energy. So subtle energy is out there. Chi, prana, whatever you want to call it, it actually exists. You can learn how to use it. And Aleya has really devoted her life and career to teaching people how to use their energy fields to improve their lives and to develop their spiritual path. So Aleya, why don't you talk about that?
I think the greatest challenge with the subtle energies is that we can't see it with our eyes, typically, unless you're super, super sensitive. And we've been brought up in a world where we've been trained to believe what we can see, believe what we can touch. And when we're working with the subtle energies and the energetic fields, there is this belief in ourselves of it's not really going to work. And then when something does shift and we did use our energy fields, we think, oh, that's coincidence, right? Something else happened. Something had to have happened. It was that supplement that I took, something physical to explain it. And so I think the greatest challenge when you're starting to learn how to use your energetic fields is to work through this belief that you've been brought up in of the only thing that's real is something that you can see and you can touch. It's palpable. It's in the physical realm. And our consciousness actually exists outside of the physical dimension. It exists in this other dimension. And we have energy fields that exist in other dimensions that are just as real as the physical realm. And it's the journey of learning how to use your energetic fields to shift your emotions, to shift your consciousness, to shift even your physical field, the chemistry in your body. And I find that a lot of the times when I do energy work with people and my own self, is that when you use your energetic fields and you use these other dimensions, using your request in the physical realm to shift it in these other dimensions, it then creates a ripple into the physical realm and your body starts to tingle. And the tingling is an indicator that your body is literally changing its chemistry. And Candace Pert in Molecules of Emotion, that book, she wrote about how when we do energy work, it literally changes the chemistry of the cellular tissue. So we are able to see the physical result of using these subtle energies, but we have to learn how to use our energetic fields by using the anchor in the physical realm, by using the request in the physical realm to shift your energetic fields. I got introduced, well, really at the age of 6 when I was dreaming about my Native American grandmother who would come and torment me at night in the most loving way. She's like, hello, here in another dimension. And so at 6, I started tuning into these other dimensions and these other energies. And at 6, they felt really real and they really are real, but I just didn't have the filter or the languaging. And then at the age of 12, 14, I started getting intrigued by the occult and magic and spells and paganism, because it was the only thing that I could find in Chicago in the library, right? There wasn't Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan. She probably hadn't written it yet. Maybe she had. And then actually when I was 14, I went to a class on massage. And so I started that training as a massage therapist at the age of 14. Obviously took some years off, but then at the age of 20, went back to massage school, became a massage therapist when I was going to college at the age of 20. And then my senior year in college, went on and got exposed to acupuncture, and then went and got my master's in Oriental medicine and became a doctor of Oriental medicine, and studied Tai Chi and Qigong and acupuncture, which is all about the subtle energies. And they've been practicing this for 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 years. And so got really immersed in Oriental medicine. And that opened me up to seeing the energy, being able to literally see the meridian lines. And Even still today, I don't practice acupuncture that much anymore. But when I look at the body, I can see the white line, and then I can see where there's a break, where there's congestion, where there's actually the acupuncture point. It's visible to me just because I've trained myself to be able to see these subtle energies. And then in 2001, I had an enlightenment experience where the top got blown off, and I was able to perceive all of these different dimensions and feel people's emotions, their energy, their thought forms, and started taking basically 5 years to figure out how to navigate a highly aware, multidimensional reality without going crazy. And over the last decade, have crafted very specific practices to help manage high levels of energetic sensitivity, clear empathic sensations in a very efficient way, very quickly. If it's not simple and it doesn't work quickly, that means it's not going to work. And how can one person use it and another person use it and have the same effect? So Doug and I have really worked together on building the how of something energetically and also with emotional processes.
Well, why is this important for people who are empaths or highly sensitive people?
I think a lot of the times when somebody's highly empathic, they think that they can think it away with their mind. And if I just think differently, or if I do a mudra, if I eat a certain way, then, or if I wear silk or my onyx or different stones and gems, yeah, that can create a certain level of protection, but it won't clear it completely out of the field. And so when you learn how to use your energetic fields, you learn how to make a request of your energetic self that literally instantly within 10, 20, 30 seconds clears an empathic sensation that you might have been challenged by for years.
Learning how to use subtle energies and work with your energy fields could be a way for people to gain mastery over their empathic powers.
Absolutely.
And if people want to learn about this, what do they do?
Over the years, doing daily cups, tall cups, working with people, I'm starting to get even more focused and driven to teach people how to use energetic protocols, their energetic fields to create a really powerful shift inside oneself with your emotions, your thoughts, and your behaviors, and also what you draw to you in your life. And so I'm going to be doing a 3-series class. There'll be 2 hours each, and it's starting at the end of May, on teaching you the basic formula of how to use your energetic fields, and then practicing protocols to help you shift different challenges, situations, empathic sensations that you've been challenged by, and just really practical tools, really efficient, slightly woo-woo, but you are using your energy fields to shift your consciousness, to shift your behaviors, to shift your beliefs. And over 15 years, I've crafted a formula that works every time, very quickly. And I'm excited to share that.
All right. So we'll put a link up at the end of this session where you can go and learn more about the class and sign up if it's of interest to you.